Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Brienne. You can also call me Owlco. And today in this video, I am going to show you how I took Carlo to the vet, why I took Carlo to the vet. If you haven't watched my other video, I'm just going to kind of briefly explain why I decided I needed to get the vet intervention for my chameleon, as well as the test results that we got for my chameleon while at the vet. All right, so first things first, I want to kind of explain why I took my chameleon to the vet. I was getting a little worried because he was having trouble passing his bowel movements, aka going to the bathroom. He would wait till almost over a week to go to the bathroom, and he would only go if I had put him in a warm soak kind of tub, kind of a warm bath, I guess. But that was becoming problematic for me because obviously I don't want to take my chameleon out of his cage every time and put him in a stressful environment in order for him to get the gears going. And that kind of happened for 2 weeks. After the first week, I had made my vet appointment, and I just had it this past Tuesday. And other things that were kind of worrying me about Carlo as well is that he was significantly more weak. So if you ever had a chameleon, or if you want to get a chameleon, chameleons, they have a really tight grip, and Carlo was lacking that grip, which also could be a sign that something is happening internally. Maybe something's not right with his cage. But again, for me as a chameleon owner, I do a lot of research for my chameleon. I want to make sure I'm giving the best chameleon care to him. So I'm making sure that I have the best bulbs. I have a heat gun. I'm always monitoring his basking spot. So it ranges anywhere between 79 and about 88 degrees Fahrenheit, depending how hot it is in my house and the temperature outside. It kind of fluctuates. And then the supplements. So in the summer, I had dropped Carlo's feeding down from 4 to 5 times a week to 3 times a week because one of the top, I guess, chameleon gurus or researchers in the community had said that my chameleon was getting fat and that I needed to cut down on some food. So which I took his advice and I did. So I only fed him Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I was feeding him D3 1 to 2 times a month and multivitamin 1 to 2 times a month as well. I'll go into that kind of more because I am changing a supplement and feeding schedule as per the vet's suggestion. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to show you how I took Carlo to the vet, kind of the setup that I had to put him in, as well as I do have some footage while at the vet as well. This is going to be a very kind of weird video because it kind of goes against what people learn on the internet of like how to actually take care of chameleons. So I really want to enlighten everybody. So it is vet time for Carlo. I wanted to show you the setup I have for him. Right now it's just in a small Exoterra that I was able to put a little bamboo branch as well as an artificial branch. I do have a towel that is sitting below. I'm going to put that this is like a heat pack that you just heat up in the microwave. I'm going to put that underneath the towel just so that Carlo stays nice and toasty on our way to the vet. I was very worried because Carlo, he does not like coming out of his cage a lot of the time, so I like to leave him alone. I was very worried that I was going to have a very difficult time trying to get him out of his cage, more so because I didn't have any hornworms or any superworms for him to kind of bribe him out. However, I did add this ladder to his cage, and with my luck, he was resting on the ladder. So I was able to to take the ladder out, and I got him out within probably less than a minute, which was my biggest concern because I was like, oh boy, I'm going to be here for 10 minutes trying to get him out for his appointment because I don't have anything to bribe him with. His appointment's at 3:30. It is 3 o'clock right now. Should take me only 15-20 minutes to get to the vet. But anyways, I'm going to stick that heat pack in there for Carlo and then stick him in that cage as well. And we'll go from there.
You are just a cool dude. You're pretty chill.
I'm very surprised, actually.
Big guy, okay, let me do a little more support.
Bobby knows you're a good guy. You're here to help him.
So a few things just evident already. One is definitely his holding strength is not great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, normally they should be able to grasp, and you really should be able to feel a little bit of a pinch.
He used to have a pretty strong hold.
Yeah, has a bit of vertebral malformation in the tail, so he's getting a bit of kinkiness to his tail.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Which would be a little bit suspicious that potentially metabolic bone disease is an issue with him.
Yeah, which is weird because like I do all the vitamins and I have all the right lights too, so I'm just kind of, but I know it's very common in chameleons too.
We usually, just in terms of frequency of vitamin D supplementation, usually we would recommend weekly.
Weekly?
So it could be that we're underdosing them a little bit in vitamin D. And certainly nothing wrong with your dosing. I often find liquid elemental calcium is a little bit more reliable as far as calcium supplementation too. So.
Yeah. I know when I first got him, I got it for a checkup, and that's what that vet too said. But then I never had any like physical research from like when I was doing my research on it. People were always just had.
Yeah, they definitely can. And we do find certain lines of chameleons, just like certain lines of bearded dragons, are much more susceptible to.
There you go.
to metabolic bone disease.
So far so good. The vet is going okay. I decided to get blood work on Carlo, and that's going to tell us more about what his hormone balance is, his calcium levels are. So he has a slight kink in his tail. He said it could be possibly when I first had him, that when it didn't grow properly, if he was younger and developing MBD. He thinks that the powdered calcium is technically not sufficient enough, and we should actually be supplementing our chameleons with calcium every day by mouth with liquid calcium. We'll see how that goes. I might try that out, or up the dosage of his D3 for now to see how things go. His Arcadia bulb right now is at 5 months, his UVB, so I don't know if that's wrong, because I know they're supposed to last longer than 6 months than the normal Reptizoo UVB bulb. But yeah, Carlo's getting blood work done, and I think that's gonna take a few days to come back to the vet, and hopefully we can actually get some scientific answers. So one thing that Dr. Jackson had mentioned was that he noticed that Carlo was getting a kink in his tail, which could be a result of MBD or metabolic bone disease. Now, this disease is very common in chameleons because if they do not get the right levels of calcium or D3, then their bones kind of take calcium from other places of their body, aka resulting in deformities of the limbs, the bones. And this was very puzzling to me because I was doing everything that I thought I could do to help prevent that. I had all the right supplements. I was doing D3 every month, multivitamin every month. I added the bee pollen to help with his health as well. And so it was very puzzling to me when he said that, you know what, I think this might be an onset of MBD. So I was really confused and a little kind of hurt because obviously I don't want that happening to my animals. And like I said, I tried to prevent that from happening. So I even asked him too. I was like, you know what, I'm doing everything I can. I thought with all my supplementation and me feeding him 3 times a week with the crickets is going to prevent that. And I also do have the best UVB light bulb brand that you can get, the Arcadia, the most well-known brand at least. And I literally just got that a few months ago, so I didn't think that was the issue. However, I do not have a solar meter, so obviously I don't actually know the actual output of this bulb, even though it is supposed to be the top one. Sometimes certain strains of reptiles will need more supplementation than the actual normal dosage. So I'm not too sure. Carlo is one of those reptiles. He might be, because the first 3 years of me having him, I supplemented him the exact same way how I was doing it now. Only difference was I was feeding him more, and now I'm feeding him less. So maybe Carlo is one of those chameleons that does need to eat more and get that like the vitamins, the calcium D3, and the multivitamins more than 3 times a week for that. And this is why Dr. Jackson had actually recommended that instead of feeding your chameleon or dusting your chameleon with D3 1 to 2 times a month, you should be feeding or dusting your crickets D3 1 time a week. Just because with the powder, how much of that powder is actually sticking to your feeders and how much of your feeders are actually getting eaten by your chameleon. Now, if you're like me, sometimes I will put my crickets in a kind of like a large container cup, and then I'll place it into my chameleon's cage. And then when I come home and I see that there's none in there, I'm like, cool, he ate. Well, how do I know that he is actually maybe catching the crickets and then dropping them and then them getting loose? So he's not actually getting that proper supplementation from these crickets, which can be kind of problematic, because sometimes the only way for you to monitor your chameleon eating is that if you actually hand feed your chameleon and watch them eat personally, instead of, you know, leaving some crickets in the cage in a cup and then going away. I do that sometimes because I have to work, so I don't have time to stand there for 45 minutes trying to feed my chameleon. I had to wait a few days to actually get the test results for the blood test, and what it came back with is kind of interesting. It did highlight what the vet, Dr. Jackson, had thought, is that his calcium levels were lower than they should be. But there was another interesting find we had, is that his potassium level is extremely high. And technically it's supposed to be a ratio of 1 to 2 potassium to calcium. And this, he talked it over with actually a zoologist that worked at my local zoo as well, and that could be either related to liver failure or dehydration. Now, it could be either. With that being said, I did up my misting from about like 4 times a day to 5 times a day, with a really long afternoon mist, about 7 minutes, because sometimes chameleons need that extra long time of their cage getting misted for them to actually kind of travel over to the spot and actually drink the water there. I also do have my dripper on constantly, and it is doing a fast drip, so if Carlo does want to drink and not during the misting cycle, then he can drink under the dripper. But if that is the case of why his potassium levels are so high, that he's a little dehydrated, he's not drinking as much, I want to make sure that I'm fixing that, so I am making sure that I'm giving him tons of opportunities to drink that water. So another thing that Dr. Jackson had mentioned is that sometimes the powdered calcium is not sufficient enough, and they actually recommend using liquid calcium instead, which means you either have to put it into your chameleon's mouth with a syringe, or you have to inject the bugs, the insects that you're feeding your chameleon, which is a little tedious because when I was picking up the calcium, there's lots of sediment in the calcium itself, the liquid calcium, so you do have to shake it for a long period of time. With the needles, you can only reuse the needles for, I think they recommended 5 times, like for 5 feedings, and then you gotta throw them out and get another needle. And you can go to a pharmacy and get a needle, but the vet just said, you know, you can buy them at the veterinarian clinic as well, and they can give you the tiny needles that already have, I'll show you this one right here. It has an orange cap already on it, so that means there is a needle head already on the syringe, and they marked it at the 10 millimeter mark. So every feeding, Dr. Jackson wants me to inject my bugs with 10 millimeters of calcium, liquid calcium. I did it yesterday and it went all right. I was planning on injecting it into a larger insect, so like his hornworms, but I didn't have any hornworms because the pet stores are all out. And so I just did it to the crickets, and surprisingly it was pretty easy for the crickets for me to inject them, just because the needle head is very small, so I was able to get into the bottom of, or the bigger area of the cricket. But Carlo got his 10 millimeters of, is it millimeters or milligrams? Milliliters. 10 milliliters of calcium on his feeding that I did yesterday on Friday. I am gonna wait till Monday to feed him again, just because I do want to see if he can go to the bathroom this weekend. I did soak him again today, but if he's not gonna go to the bathroom, I am gonna try soaking him again maybe tomorrow or on Monday, just to see if we can get some gears going again. The vet also mentioned that the reason why he might not be going to the bathroom is because of the calcium. So calcium is such a big part for chameleons, is that if they do not get the certain level that they're supposed to be getting, then a lot of stuff doesn't work properly. So that includes their organs, their digestive tract, them going to the bathroom, kind of gets slowed down if they don't get enough calcium that they need. Yeah, I'm hoping that my new way of supplementing Carlo, as well as I'm going to feed him, I think I'm going to start feeding him an extra day. So I'm going to be feeding him 4 days a week instead of 3, and give him a little bit more crickets. So that way we can we can get his calcium intake and level in his body up quicker than if I were to stick on his diet. Again, I feel kind of bad because I feel like the diet that I was recommended to put Carlo on then kind of led him to get an onset of MBD, which sucks. Really, actually sucks. All right, anyways, I hope you guys like this video. I did want to give you an update. I am planning on making a video in the future of Carlo's progress, if he does get better, or if he gets worse. Let's hope that's not the case. But I do want to show you how Carlo is getting better, if he's getting stronger, and if he's actually continuing or going to improve on his bowel movement. If you do have any questions, please put them in the comment section below, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel for updates on Carlo and my other reptiles. If you want to get notifications all the time, be sure to hit that bell, because every time I upload a video, it will pop up on your feed. But anyways, I hope everyone has a good day, and thank you for watching.